All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about Jermell Charlo, Terence Crawford, and Errol Spence Jr. Terence Crawford is apparently turning down the Errol Spence Jr. fight, being very unreasonable, at least in the public, and the likelihood that he can get what he wants, however, against Jermell Charlo. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. Before we get into the subject matter of the video, make sure that you support my partner and betting partner, BUSR.com. You can see the information right down here, $250 giveaways. All you have to do is go to the site, which you will see down here throughout the video, and sign up, use a promotional code Fanon, and you will get most definitely get some free money to play with. Let's talk about, though, the 147-pound division, specifically Terence Crawford, Errol Spence Jr., and Jermell Charlo. I have a source, well, multiple people have sent me messages on Instagram who, I talk to on a regular basis, and they tell me that there is a potential for Terence Crawford to get what he wants out of the PBC and get an undisputed championship shot for the money that he's looking for, at least the percentage split that he's looking for, but it will not be Errol Spence Jr. It would be Jermell Charlo. So let's go over the circumstance, the facts real fast. Everybody wants to see Errol Spence Jr. versus Terence Crawford at 147 pounds. There's a lot of back and forth about who shot John, as far as who's ducking who's doing this and who's doing that. Well, let me assure you, and this is my opinion. I won't say assure you. This is my opinion. And as people should know, this channel is a fan forum, right? I'm a boxing fan. We talk about things that are taking place in boxing, and then I give you my opinion on it. That is what the channel is, and so that's what I'm going to do. Terence Crawford if Terence Crawford wants this Errol Spence Jr. fight, he doesn't want it very badly. Okay, and he's asking for something that I believe, and any other reasonable person I think believe, is unrealistic and unfair to Errol Spence Jr., which is he's saying that he is not going to fight for 60-40. He was only going to fight for 50-50. If there's going to be any 60-40 split in the purse between Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford, is going to be in Terence Crawford's favor. That, my friend, is unfair to Errol Spence Jr., because Errol Spence Jr. is the one that is selling the majority of those tickets. He's the one that has the history of the successful pay-per-views. And just to say, I'm not fighting you unless I get 50-50, when you have not done financially the things that the other guy has done, is unfair to the guy that has put in the work. And I will say, and there is a difference between being an excellent fighter and winning good fights and being a really good fighter in the ring, and being somebody that is selling tickets and bringing people into the auditoriums. Floyd Mayweather Jr., excellent fighter. Pernell Whitaker, some people say a better fighter. Roberto Duran, some people say better fighter. However, there's no doubt who was putting the butts in the seats, and that's Floyd Mayweather Jr., which is why Floyd Mayweather Jr. got the money. Floyd Mayweather Jr. wasn't any better a fighter when he was fighting Manny Pacquiao than when he was fighting Arturo Gatti. But when he fought Arturo Gatti, he got a little less than 50-50 against Arturo Gatti, because Arturo Gatti was bringing a lot of fans to the table. He got under 40%. He was something like 70-30 against Oscar De La Hoya, and Floyd was the better fighter than Oscar De La Hoya, but he didn't get it because he wasn't the one that was selling the tickets. From all rational points of view, Errol Spence Jr. is the bigger attraction of the two, and it's only fair to Errol Spence Jr. that Errol Spence Jr., taking a big risk by fighting Terence Crawford, should get what he has earned through his past performance. However, just like everywhere else in the world, you have free choice. You can make your decision to fight a guy or not to fight a guy. Absolutely, Terence Crawford has the right to say, well, you know what? If I don't get 50-50 for the chance that I'm taking, and he believes that his value is based off the fights that he's done and the longer career that he's had, he has the right to turn that down. And, it is what it is, right? Nobody can force him to fight. However, can say and put the blame where it belongs, if that is true and if he sticks with that, that he's the reason that fight is not going to happen, because Errol Spence Jr. does not owe it to Terence Crawford, does not owe it to boxing fans to be taken advantage of by Terence Crawford, right? And cut a deal that he thinks is essentially unfair to him. However, there is somebody out there, according to the sources or the people that have DM'd me, saying, look, Jermell Charlo said he will take that fight. Jermell Charlo it's pretty much known that Jermell Charlo and Terence Crawford had gone back and forth a few times. And Terence Crawford had said that he was going to be moving up. If he doesn't fight Errol Spence Jr., that he would move up to 154 pounds and look for titles at 154 pounds. And Jermell Charlo is saying, hey, man, yeah, absolutely. Move on up to 154 pounds and I'll fight you. Now, Jermell Charlo has the fight with Brian Castano. Is supposed to be having the fight with Brian Castano even in either January or February. Their rematch for the undisputed title, because you have Jermell Charlo, who has the WBA, the WBO, the WBA, the IBF, and the WBC, and you have the WBO champion Brian Castano. They're supposed to be rematching each other, but either in lieu of that fight or after that fight, Jermell Charlo is willing to fight Terence Crawford for money that Terence Crawford can get 50-50 from Jermell Charlo. And I would think that would be a fair deal, because Jermell Charlo is the one holding all the belts. Terence Crawford said that he would be willing to move up there. I think, hey, man, if that may be a good scenario, because if he goes up there to 154 pounds and he beats Jermell Charlo and becomes the undisputed champion at 154, and Errol moves up to 154 pounds, and then Terence Crawford's the champion, there you go. That's your argument for 50-50, provided that, that's your argument for 50-50, because Terence Crawford has something that Errol's trying to get, which is the undisputed title at 154. Now, my personal belief is that would be a big risk for Terence Crawford to go up there and fight Jermell Charlo, because Jermell Charlo is a very, very big boy, much, much bigger and stronger than Terence Crawford is. Terence Crawford moving up, would be his fourth weight class, 135, 140, 147, moving up to his fourth weight class. That is an entirely, and that in this particular instance, it is another it's a 7-pound jump for him, with a guy like Jermell, who is probably, I would suspect, 2 inches taller than him, with a longer reach, much bigger, stronger fighter. It's a very, very dangerous fight for Terence Crawford, because if he gets clipped by Jermell Charlo in the way that he got clipped against Aegis Kalvanakis, Sean Porter, or even the limited amount of success that Kell Brook had, if he gets touched on that, that's a chance for him to go bye-bye in that fight. However, it is most definitely a chance for him to get that 50-50 and get a pay-per-view and add to his legacy. So he said he would move up to 154. If he does that, cool. But if he winds up doing something like going over to the UK to fight Josh Taylor, and doing that, and then just continuing to stay at 147 and turn down Errol Spence Jr. because he thinks that he's worth more money, I don't think that is a good look on Terence Crawford. And look, I know there are people that come by and try to support Terence Crawford and do all that, but for the majority of the people that come trolling on Terence Crawford, it's really guys that are anti-PBC. It's really not really his fan base. And I'm telling you, over the course of years, Terence Crawford has lost more fans over this Errol Spence Jr. stuff than he's gained. And if he's not willing to take 60-40 for this fight, I mean, dude, it's just him. It's him not wanting to fight. It isn't Errol Spence Jr. and not all of the the wordsmanship and all that stuff. Anybody want to try ain't gonna make a difference, because that's just what it's gonna look like. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You make sure you let me know in the comment section what you think, and leave your opinion there. Also, make sure you hit the like button, share, subscribe to the channel. It really does help the channel grow. I'd greatly appreciate it. And with that, I'm out. Peace.